All right, welcome back to part 2 of the podcast, Fastlaine, with Dom and my friend Paul Laine, from Vancouver. We're talking to each other from, across the, I'm in Quebec and you're in Vancouver, so like 60-hour drive away.
And don't forget, I live on an island, so you got to swim another 30 kilometers.
Wow, you live on Vancouver Island, that's true. I've been there, I love Vancouver is a beautiful city, and I guess there's a reason why you've stayed there, your whole career. Would you move? If you, let's just say you had an offer from somebody from Toronto or Montreal, would you be willing to move, or I'm BC for life?
No, inside Canada, listen, I might be able to move for a while, but I'd always come home, man. This place is in my blood, right? I can't, and all of my creating has happened here.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember listening to Paul Brent. Paul Brent from Calgary, and Paul, wrote a beautiful song called Alberta BAM, and that's what he says in the song. It's part of me. It's part of my blood. I always coming back. I'll move to Nashville for a year, but I'm back in Calgary in no time.
Yeah, it's hard to take when you know kind of what makes you tick. It's like, listen, I can go right anywhere, but I do my best work here. So I got my, I have a nice recording studio outside my house in my backyard, and that's my place that I go. I open up the door and it's creativity. So, it's important, like a painter would have his studio and his or her studio and have the place where they felt comfortable. And, I've written almost every record in here. So,
and do you write the record in your studio, or do you go outside sometimes, or?
Well, look, I get a lot of my ideas driving. If I'm stuck, I'll just get in my car and go for a drive, and usually I'll come up with the answer to the problem. But yeah, most of my writing happens in the studio. And with the advent of, the great thing about having a cell phone is you can create a memo. Like I'm driving, how many times I just pull over, like, oh my God, I got the best idea ever. And I'll pull the car over and start singing it into my phone. I have probably hundreds of voice memos of future songs.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So... and then amazing. I'll just go, okay, it's time to work on this one today. Just get myself back into the headspace and then, bam, go for
it. Just tell you how crazy we can get sometimes. It's the same thing with investigating. I got my ghost box, the machine that creates that white noise that goes like, so I always have it with me all the time because you never know when I'm going to get called to do an investigation. So I'm driving sometimes, and I'm just imagining, answers to certain situations. I'm creating a situation, then I start the ghost box, and sometimes I'll get some interactions driving on the road. So you're like, is something following me? But I love doing that. It's not a job. It's not, I never get paid for it. I never will get paid for it. But I love it. That's what like you said before. You feel music is what you were born to do. But to me, investigating is what I was born to do, and I stopped doing big places. For a lot of people on social media, they're probably wondering, Dom, he hasn't done a lot of prisons lately, or I do private homes, I do stuff, more intimate investigations, because to me, I realized that everybody goes for Alcatraz and all those places, Eastern State, but at the same time, if you stick to yourself, I'd rather just do my friend's home if he thinks there's something there. Because to me, you don't need to film everything. You film it for the investigation, but not everything needs to be on YouTube or, on Facebook or social media. And I just realized that I was kind of fed up, with, just wanting to be the next guy trying to be famous. I never wanted to be famous, I just want to do what I love, and if I can share it with people, great,
Yeah, man, I dig that, because that's kind of how I feel about music. That is how I feel about music, and I think, Dom, obviously you've chosen to take the road less traveled, right? And that's given you, something that makes you happy.
Exactly, because sometimes talking, like I've said before, a lot of people are, have you ever been scared investigating? I've been spooked sometimes, because you go to different locations. I've been attacked by rabbit dogs, cats, stray cats in abandoned buildings and stuff like that. Bats, flew over my head and almost made me jump out a window. But
wow.
I realized that, I'm way more scared of the living than I am of the dead,
Amen, brother.
I go to sometimes, the location I'm investigating scares me more.
That should be your tagline, Dom.
Oh, yeah, way more scary. I remember one night, we were investigating, an abandoned, creepy, old abandoned hospital. But the tenant of the building in front was actually the owner of the hospital. The way he was looking at us, I was like, oh my God, I can only imagine this guy coming up while we're doing an EVP session with a shotgun and just shooting us. Or, he had this weird look. And I remember, every time I heard footsteps, I was almost like, please let it be ghosts. I don't want it to be the guy across the street. What am I going to do with my ghost box in my hand and my flashlight? I'm going to defend myself,
Oh, man.
Holy cow.
Jokes going through my head right now, but I won't.
Brother, all your years on the road, I'm sure there's at least one creepy place, a story you can tell me about. Not like it could be an abandoned, not abandoned, but a creepy motel you slept in, or tell me one of the creepiest place you've ever been, in all those years being on the road.
There was a weird, there's been a bunch, I would not say so much hotels, but we would play, in Europe, we'd go on and play some of these concert halls that have been there, since the 1700s or whatever. And, they're old opera halls that are now converted into music halls, for rock shows and whatever. But you go into the basements of these places, Dom, and there's just some of the most creepiest places that you've, and it'll be your green room, right? Or your dressing room or whatever. I remember, what was the place called? There's a place in Denmark I went to, and this place, just has the worst feeling. Was it something Kaiser Keller or something? I forget. And then, Germany, these old opera halls in France, and you can just feel something. You just feel like this presence, if that makes any sense to you at all.
Oh, yeah, totally. Totally.
You feel like you're just, like and obviously there's been hundreds of thousands of different souls who've gone through and walked those floors and
exactly
and worked in those rooms, and part of it feels really cool and part of it feels really, really creepy.
Yeah, and you imagine in Europe, it's so much older than in North America, and you can only imagine, the people, how many people lived and died in that area, or that's incredible. Especially in Europe, there's so many people in such a small place. Like in Canada, we're lucky, there's 30 million of us, and there could be 300 million of us, there's...
Sure, and it would still be wide open space.
Exactly. People don't realize how lucky we are to live here, we're not all crammed up.
No, what is it? Someone was telling me the other day, it's... Canada is like the same population as the state of California, So think about that.
It's incredible. There's when you think about it, there's almost as many people just in New York City than in Canada.
Right.
12 million people compared to 30. That's absolutely crazy.
Well, it's no wonder that if Trump gets in, everyone's going to want to come here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We got the room, man.
we get the room, and it's a beautiful country for those who've never been to Canada. The western part of Canada, is absolutely amazing, with the Rockies and everything. Vancouver, beautiful. There's some hidden gems, if you've ever been to, I'm sure you have, you've been everywhere, but Nova Scotia is very beautiful,
Beautiful.
Prince Edward Island, it looks like a mini New Mexico mixed with Montana. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and even, what, I love Quebec. There's a lot of beautiful places in Quebec.
Yeah, have you ever been, brother, to Quebec City?
I have, yeah. On the Joe Satriani tour was the first time that I went there.
Wow,
What
that's a beautiful
city.
place.
It's just a whole other. It's hard to describe Quebec City to people because it's probably the closest thing to Europe in a way.
Yeah, I agree.
That you'll ever get. But it's a very, very unique place, and I think there's a lot of Canadians, especially out west, who've never even discovered any of that.
You're right.
And people need to go across this country. I've been lucky with my career, obviously, to see Canada, but I have a lot of national pride because I realize how amazing so many parts of this place that we take for granted, is.
I agree that we take for granted. Ontario is beautiful too. Beautiful spots in Ontario.
The lake country,
the lakes,
and the lake country is amazing.
Absolutely, and even in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, it's very beautiful spots too. It's a beautiful country. It's wide open spaces.
Yeah, and that has its own beauty, and I appreciate that. I mean, look, man, you just got to go to the prairies on a perfect starry night, in the summertime to realize how small you are.
That's so true. That's so true.
Endless sky.
And you hear the wind, through the grass. It's the closest to it to me, as a paranormal investigator was Gettysburg. Where you just sit in the fields and you just feel the energy coming to you. And in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, there's so many beautiful prairies, and the people there are so genuine and so cool. And that's what I realized, driving cross country in Canada, there's no big highways, you're actually going through almost all the small towns. And so you meet people, you drive 90 and then you have to stop at 50 kilometers and then you go back. So it's pretty long because there's no straight highway that you can go like in the United States. But you know what? I realized that's cool. That's cool because at least you see part of the country.
Yeah, well, whenever I'm out in those desolate spaces, I always think, hey, this is what it was like before we got here. I just kind of have that feeling of, I like stopping and just listening to the silence and going and just seeing, just uninterrupted nature is just really, really cool.
Brother, I'm sure you'll agree, but if you give me the chance between spending an evening in New York City or in open plains of Montana, I would choose Montana all the time.
Sure, I understand that. I don't think that's crazy at all.
And I'm sure it's the same thing with you. You have to go to cities, to do your shows. Of course, you can't sell out in a 2,000. You do small towns, but if you want to, you got to play the big cities, and that's okay. But when you have a chance to go in smaller cities, and then it gets more intimate with people, and that was the point of my next question. What do you prefer? I know the answer already because I asked you before, but what is the what do you prefer? Like a 5,000 arena, 1,000 people, or let's say just a small place with maybe 150 people?
Look, it comes down to this. It comes down to how engaged people are. I would take a 5,000 seat show if everybody was there, just listening and paying attention and into it, and 150 people having drinks and talking over you. But by the same token, when you play a small room, and I realize I'm not trying to avoid the question, I'm just sort of saying like it's subject to what the audience gives back to you. And I bet some of my favorite things I've been doing in the last couple of years is someone will invite me to play a house party. I'd never even heard of this before. And where I get to just go play for like 100 people.
Wow.
And I get to actually talk and have this very up close and personal experience with not only just playing music, but question and answer, right?
That's awesome.
Because how often do people get to actually sit there and ask someone whose music that they love a question? Why did you write that? What is this about? You have this lyric in the song. And I go, right. if I experienced that when I was younger with someone that I loved, I would love that opportunity. So it's very, very special. That kind of experience is, I'm kind of been opening up to doing this every now and then. So when someone asks me, hey, I want to do a house party where you just can come and play your own music, and for people who really want to hear it, I say yes, because it's a ride. It's another side of performance art, right?
That's amazing.
Where you're faced to answer questions that's not necessarily on a radio station or even in a magazine, where it's just somebody who only cares about that song and only cares why you wrote it, and isn't going, right, okay, my next interview is in 10 minutes.
Exactly. That's so true. And that's why I also found this week on Twitter, you remember I texted you about it, where I saw the video of you singing Hallelujah. It seemed like a very intimate party. And you said, yeah, it was a friend of mine's wedding, right?
It was a Christmas party.
Christmas party. Wow,
Yeah.
I was totally blown away. Again at work tonight, I showed a lot of people. I just played it on my phone, and people were like, "Oh my God, that's awesome!" That performance. I'm not telling you what to do, but if I was you, I would integrate that song in my song list.
Yeah, I'll pull it out. I'll pull it out every now and then.
Oh yeah.
The problem is that everyone will again attack me with the Bon Jovi thing, because
Oh.
it's out in his show.
Yeah, because John does it in his show now. That's true. But it was amazing, the range. First of all, it's not an easy song to sing, and the performance was incredible. It was not the first time you performed it, right?
No. I've played that song for years because I've been a fan of it, and I don't play it that often, but I've probably been playing it for maybe about I don't know, a better part of 10 years. I don't get to play acoustically that much, but when I do, I really enjoy that experience. So every now and then, someone will yell out Hallelujah, and I'll be like, oh yeah, right, I think I know that song.
Exactly.
And that's a very, very fun song to sing. It's easy to connect. If you ever read the lyrics to Hallelujah, they're so heavy, man.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
They're so heavy, right? And that song kind of made me fall in love with Leonard Cohen, as I realized it's very easy to, if all you like is popular music, to dismiss certain kinds of artists. But there's man, the guy just writes the heaviest stuff, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of words, man. I'm a fan of words.
I agree with you, brother. We're going to have to do the podcast more often. I don't know your schedule. I know you're going to be busy in the next few months because you got a new Dark Horse album that you're working on right now.
That's right. Yeah, I head off to Nashville on the 25th of this month, and I'm booked at Ricky Skaggs' studio. I'm working with the same guys that I did before. It's kind of tough because you got the guy who plays steel on a record is Garth Brooks, a steel player, and
Wow.
And Garth's obviously on the road right now. So he's this is true testament to what a lovely guy Bruce Boughton is. He's taking time out of his time off to help me make this record yet again, and so I feel very, very blessed. And I still got this. Mark Hill is coming to play bass on it. Keith Urban's old bass player, and Glenn Duncan's coming to play some mandolin and fiddle and banjo. And he's done a lot of work with Keith as well. And so, yeah, man, I do that, and then I'm in Nashville till the 10th of October. I come home for 4 days, and then I'm flying off to go play Nottingham, the Rockingham Music Festival.
Wow.
In England. So then I will be home. So let's make a date, Dom. I am home at the end of October, beginning of November. We could do like a podcast every week if you wanted. I'm home until March.
Okay.
All right?
That's awesome. Yeah, we can.
Just pick a subject and just go. It doesn't have to be music. It could be anything.
That's so true. That's so true. Now we have our hashtag, that we can use, Fastlaine.
Fastlaine, hashtag the Dominator.
It was awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight, brother, to chat. You know, it's cool because we like I said before, you know, there's no. I always make sure to not prepare for podcasts because I always thought that the worst ones I ever did was when I had a line of questions ready because you don't follow the conversation, you follow your sheet of paper. You know.
Right. Of course.
It's kind of like in wrestling right now. Everything is scripted. You know, the guys don't. They have no leeway. They just go out there and they read a script. So it's not as good as when you just follow the conversation, follow the you know where it's going to take you. You know, like if you go drink a beer, you go there with your sheet of paper. Okay, this is what we're going to talk about. This is what we're going to talk about. Right.
Right.
So
yeah, I think it's always much better when it's a casual conversation.
Agreed.
And, you know, who wants to listen to something completely formatted?
Yeah. Hey, brother, so thank you. So we'll try to schedule something as soon as we can. And thanks again for your time, brother. I always appreciate talking to you.
Thank you, Dom. Thanks for even just caring about me. I appreciate it.
You're the best, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Paul.
All right, Dom.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everyone. So thanks for listening. You know, again, very, very happy to talk to my good friend Paul Laine, amazing guy, amazing singer. And I'm going to tweet the links to his last songs, you know, that he did with Defiance and also with Dark Horse. And I mean amazing songs. You know, You Would Have Won is a great video that he shot in Vancouver. So I'm going to post it in a few minutes on Twitter. So thanks, everybody, for listening in to the podcast called Fastlaine. And we'll talk soon. Take care.